as if it were melted butter from its boughs. Thereupon the king, who wore gauntlets of skin to guard him against poisons, took the cup from the hawk's neck, and filling it with water set it before the bird, and lo! The falcon struck it with her bounces and upset the liquid. The king filled it a second time with the dripping drops, thinking his hawk was thirsty. But the bird again struck at the cup with her talons and overturned it. Then the king waxed wroth with the hawk, and filling the cup a third time, offered it to his horse. But the hawk upset it with a flirt of wings. Quoth the king, Allah confound thee, thou unluckiest of flying things. Thou keepest me from drinking, and thou deprivest thyself also and the horse. So he struck the falcon with his sword and cut off her wing. But the bird raised her head and said by signs, Look at that, which hangeth on the tree. The king lifted up his eyes accordingly and caught sight of a bird of vipers, whose poison drops he mistook for water. Thereupon he repented him of having struck off his falcon's wings, and mounting horse fared on with the dead gazelle, till he arrived at the camp, his starting place. He threw the quarry to the cook, saying, Take and broil it, and sat down on his chair, the falcon being still on his fist, when suddenly the bird gasped and died. Whereupon the king cried out in sorrow and remorse for having slain that falcon which had saved his life. Now this is what